from Brijesh Deb. He's Agile testing evangelist, and I think there was a question about what evangelists are. So I would ask people just to Google, and you will get lots of interesting answer. And if you still have questions, we can have a discussion on that later. Brijesh, are you there? Perfect. I like your background, and you have amazing chair.
Yeah.
You should be in
Well,
politics. You look like a leader.
well, well, Lalit, I recently discovered that you and I are practically neighbors. You are in Germany, I'm in the Netherlands. So,
Oh,
when the times are good again, we need to catch up. And I have a very important question for you. Why does Germany get to keep all the mountains and Netherlands has none? This is a question you need to answer for me.
okay. I think I will have to schedule a meeting with Miss Chancellor, and if she gives me permission to share the details, I can definitely give you more idea. By the time we meet, I will definitely try to find it out. I'm sure you have other amazing things there. You have
Oh, yeah.
beautiful flowers
Of,
that we
of
don't
course,
have.
of course.
So
Of
yeah, it's
course,
a good trade-off.
beautiful cut
And
wood.
there should be reasons. There should be reasons for people to come over to each other place, right? If you have everything there, why would you come here to meet me in Germany?
Yes, yes, of course.
Okay, so I gave you an answer already. Brijesh, let's try and see if you are able to share your screen. If you see it all good.
Yes, let me do that. Can I go ahead and share it?
Yes, please.
Okay. Mm,
Are you able to figure out? Are you able to share your
ye-
screen at all?
yes, I am. Yeah, do you see my screen now?
Yes, we are all set. We see you,
Okay.
we hear you. Wonderful. I would let you take over.
All right. So, namaste, everybody. How is everyone doing? I know these times are quite tough, and I hope all of you are taking care and are enjoying this conference. This has been incredible. Great sessions so far, and we're looking forward to many more of these. So, without any further ado, let me get started. We heard some very fantastic sessions so far, and I thought let me also take this opportunity and talk to you all about a quick recipe for test strategy. Now, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear test strategy? I know all of you are thinking, so let me give you some option. Do you think of a document? Do you think of a template, IEEE 829, IEEE 29119-3, maybe something from Guru 99? Or do you think of a book that can be kept at the City Central Library? Well, if you are thinking of any of those, then trust me, guys, it's time for us to go and do some unlearning and some relearning. Because a test strategy is a set of ideas that guide the test design. It is not a huge document that you prepare that is read by nobody else other than the author. Trust me, this happens. A lot of times when people are asked to do testing and prepare test strategies, then what we normally do is we search through our computer, try and see if we have a reference document available, or else go to Google, search for something there, or else call up a friend and say, hey, do you have a template for me? Hey, can you suggest me something? How do you go about it? This is what happens. But the thing is that it is a set of your ideas. Okay, it is a set of ideas that you need to come up with, rather than looking for a template, rather than looking for something else. You need to come up with these ideas. And interestingly enough, I need to tell you a story before I go further. So interestingly enough, what happened was a few months ago, I was at a coffee machine in my office early in the morning, getting my first cup of coffee, and that coffee machine is excellent because you get freshly brewed coffee. there, which is really good. And with my coffee, I usually like a little bit of sugar, uh, a little bit, not much. But then that day, as I was getting the cup of coffee ready, one of my senior directors walked by me and he asked me, "Hey, you're working on the new project, aren't you? So do you have a test strategy ready?" I said, "Well, yes, I am working on a test strategy, and it is going to be based on the heuristic test strategy model. It is a fantastic model that testers can follow, and we can." I started trying to explain the whole thing, and as I was doing that, I could see that the director had a very blank expression on his face, and he started wondering what's going on. So he just said, "Well, let me know when something is ready," and he walked back. And I picked up my cup of coffee, and I was thinking, what's going on? What did I just do? Did I just piss him off? Did I do something wrong? Did I say something wrong? And I walked back to my desk, I sat in my chair, and I took the first sip of coffee. I had forgotten to add sugar. And that's when reality hit me. Is that, okay, I have got to make it simple for people to understand what a test strategy is, and I should be able to explain it in a much simpler way. And as I unlocked my computer, I had the eureka moment. I was working on something before I went to get my cup of coffee that should have been the answer to the question that my director had asked me. And had I given that answer, we would have, had a very good start. But then things happened differently. So now, since the topic is about recipes, a recipe of a test strategy, the question is, what are the ingredients, or what is the ingredient of my recipe? Now, if you all paid attention to Pradeep's talk yesterday, he had that banana leaf with a beautiful menu on it of a wonderful South Indian food. And he explained how he likes to be the salt and mix up with everybody and enhance the taste of the food. But he also mentioned that his favorite item on that banana leaf was the curd. The curd has exactly the same number of ingredients as my recipe has. But before I go along and go further and disclose the ingredient of my recipe, I would want you to open the Amazon app or the Amazon website if you have access to, so that you are able to follow along as I talk about and do some work on your own as we go along, and then later on we'll see if you've been able to make sense out of what I've been saying and get some ideas. Thankfully, in the previous session, Anand also referred to the Amazon website, so that is a good continuation, I guess. So now coming back, what is the ingredient of my recipe? Oops, this is the last slide. No, it is not. This is in fact the ingredient of my recipe. Questions. I was sitting at my desk on that day and writing down a bunch of questions that I got by looking at the requirements document, by looking at whatever piece of information was available with me, by looking at the first build that was out for testing, when they said, okay, just go through and see if we are working in the right direction. So I was preparing a list of questions, and I said, okay, if there was a way in which I could categorize these questions better and put it across, then maybe this would be a point of starting the test strategy or building my test strategy, and I can use the heuristic test strategy model as the guideline to build my test strategy, and it can be made robust. But to lay the foundation of that test strategy, I put together a category of questions, and that I call as 5W and 1H. Now, what does that mean? This is what it means. The 5 W's, what, why, who, where, and when, and the 1H, how. So when you look at the documents, you put together your questions and you bucket them into these 6 categories. And these 6 categories will help you to put forth some fundamental questions that when you start working on your test strategy, when you begin collaborating with fellow testers, with developers, with business analysts, with product owners, with the stakeholders like the director, who asked me that question. I should have a strong foundation, and I should have a list ready with me that I go with, and then ask those questions to those people. And maybe as a result, I will get more questions from there. I will get more ideas. I will get my ideas to form my test strategy or to design my test cases. And that is where the strength lies of the power of asking questions. So as we are looking at the Amazon website and the Amazon app, let's try and see some of the examples of the kind of questions that we can get. First is what. So when you say what, the first question is, okay, what does the product do? What problems does it solve? By doing what the product does it solve the problem it is supposed to do? It is supposed to solve. It is a follow-up question, but you can still list it down. Okay. Then what are the risks involved? You start with your thought process. Try and list down some risks by yourself. You will get more and more as you discuss this with fellow testers, with developers, with business analysts, with the product owner, with the other stakeholders. And then what is the kind of environment? How does it look like? And a very important question to ask is, okay, what are the quality criteria for the product that the product needs to meet for the customer to be successful? Remember, we are no longer talking about customer satisfaction. We are talking about customer success. That is, the customer should be able to meet his or her goal of satisfying the user's need. And only then they will feel successful. Moving further, the why kind of questions. Why is a particular technology stack chosen for a development? Why is Java the option? Why not .NET? Okay. Is there something else? Why can't it be something else? I mean, ask those kind of questions to developers. You will get ideas. You will get, hooks for your tests. You will get, your creative side will kick in. Then, why does the system behave the way it does? Could there be an alternate workflow for that? For example, if I look at the Amazon website and I'm shopping for a cell phone, a mobile phone. Now, recently we saw the launch of the OnePlus 8 Pro and OnePlus 8 and the OnePlus 8 Pro, and this phone is very popular. So there are multiple ways you can get to the screen where you could, purchase the OnePlus 8 from. You could directly type in the search box OnePlus 8 and you can go there. You can go to it via the product categories, go to mobile phones, then smartphones, then sort them by price or whatever, and you get there. Or else you can also get to the same screen by clicking on the ads that come on the screen. So when a new phone comes in, there are ads on the screen that appear. And from there, you should be able to go to the same screen. So there are many workflows to get to where you want to. So are you thinking about that? Are you curious enough to challenge that and get to where you want to go to? Now let's look at some of the who questions. Who will use the product? Now we always talk about user personas, and for that you must know who is the user. Okay, what roles do they play? Now, if you look at the Amazon app, you think, okay, so the Amazon app, I can use it as a consumer. But do you know that there is a different Amazon app for sellers as well? So initially the idea was to use the same app, but then it would have been too complicated to add the feature for the sellers there. So they decided to go for a different app for the sellers. For the distributors, apparently there is a different app. So there are these multiple distinctions that they have done for their users. Similarly, for the product that you test, you need to think about who are the users, what kind of roles they play. Does it make an impact if I choose a different role? Then who takes the decisions that are related to the feature? Is it the product owner who's taking the decision? Is it some other stakeholder? Is it a group of people who are taking decisions, which means that you will have to arrive at some sort of consensus before getting to a decision? Now, how does that matter to you as a tester? Now, for example, if there is a feature that needs to be tested and it has been decided to be implemented in a certain way, then you can obviously go and find out as to why that is the way, and you can go ahead and write a test and find out, okay, if it works and meets the criteria. But then if there is a feature change that needs to be done, then sometimes we say, okay, we need to probably discuss it with somebody if the feature can be implemented in a different way, so that if we need to test it, we need to adopt a different approach. For that, you need to know who the stakeholder is, or who the person is who's taking that decision, so that you can have a discussion, get his or her point of view, and then design your test accordingly, run your test accordingly. So this is a very important question that you can ask. Similarly, let's go to where. So where will the software be deployed? Is it an on-premise deployment, or is it going to be on the cloud? Your test strategy will depend on either of the cases, or your test cases will depend. They will vary. Okay. Then where from do we access the software? Is it just the website? Is it the mobile app? Is it both? We know, we have seen retail sellers having changes in their strategy. Earlier they were either mobile and web, and some chose to go web only, some chose to go mobile only, and then they came back to the mobile and web strategy. So that keeps changing. So as a tester, it is good to know, because the testing strategy for websites is different from the testing strategy for mobile apps. Now, if you have to do for both, then of course you have to talk accordingly. Okay, and if you have to do just one of those, then you have to plan accordingly. So these are important questions to ask. Now, when you say, okay, when is the next category? So when will the software be available to the users? If it is already available, then what is the update frequency? Okay, for example, Amazon is already available. So at what frequency do they update the app? So when the new features come in, when are the users going to get it? Okay, if there is a new feature that is being pushed, then that helps you plan your tests. You know exactly what is the window for you to test in, and that way, because if you have a prioritized list of test cases with you to be executed based on the risks that you've identified, then you can focus on those tests. And finally, the how question, that is, how is the product used? What is the different usage pattern? And if you answer this, then you know exactly, okay, so you are able to understand, okay, this product is being used in this manner, and and you can plan your tests in line with the usage patterns that you see. So for if it is a very simple usage, or if it's a heavy usage. So for example, somebody like me who likes to just browse through the app, not shop actually, so I will be in the app, I'll keep on looking for new updates or new stuff that is there and feel excited about it, but not go and buy. Okay, but there are some people who are really into shopping, and they spend a lot of time on these apps actually making purchases. So the usage patterns are different. I am browsing the catalog, but I'm not going to pick a product and going through the entire workflow. Okay, whereas there are some people who go through the entire workflow. So the usage patterns vary. So that way, you can also think of ways as to how you can incorporate those usage patterns into your test. So one thing that I want to mention here is, I want to give a disclaimer. This list of questions presented here is not exhaustive, and it only intends to tickle your brain to get more ideas. Okay, and of course, like customary to all disclaimers, no animals were harmed during the making of these slides. This is a very customary disclaimer item, so I wanted to put it out there. So what I hope that after this, you would have, you would start thinking and asking these questions, and try to bucket in your questions and categorize them, and then form a foundation so that you can go ahead and talk to your fellow teammates and come out with a strategy, and you test more effectively. Finally, I want to leave you guys with a thought. Curiosity and imagination are the tester's best assets. Use them to feed your capabilities. Ask questions. That is most important. Okay, always ask questions, because in my opinion, testing is all about asking questions. You keep questioning the product. You keep challenging the status quo. You keep questioning what is deemed as obvious. So people say, okay, let's assume this. You're not supposed to assume. You are supposed to test that assumption as a tester. So ask questions. Let the questions drive you. Okay, you will be able to test so much better if you ask questions. The problem that I see with a lot of testers is, when they are asked to test, they look for requirements document, they look for templates, they straight away jump on to writing test cases because the management has been asking for something tangible. They do not ask questions. And as a result, the test cases are poor, the testing is poor, the product fails miserably. I have seen this as my experience, and I'm sure you all must have encountered this kind of situation. So to come out of all that, my only advice for you guys is ask a lot of questions. And I would also go ahead and say the questions are not stupid. Answers are stupid. Okay, if you think my question will be deemed as a stupid question, don't worry about it. I mean, somebody asked a long time ago, is it possible to fly? Then, somebody came up with the idea of an aeroplane. Say, okay, it is a large piece of metal. Will it fly? And today, you have such huge aeroplanes flying, right? So the question initially might have sounded really stupid, but you see what is going on. So again, let your imagination flow. Be curious. Ask questions. That's all I have for you guys. I am happy to take any questions that you may have. If you want to reach out to me, you can connect with me on my LinkedIn and on my Twitter. The QR codes are here. I want to take this opportunity to thank the Test Drive team, Mahesh, Lalit, all the volunteers who have helped, all the audience who have sat through my session very patiently, and most importantly, my family for adjusting with me, for sparing the weekend, because it gets a little difficult, but they've been really supportive. So on that note, over to you, Lalit. Are there any questions for me?
Yes, an interesting one, I would say. So I don't know if you were there in the panel discussion yesterday where Rahul made a very interesting point that there will be similar questions again and again, but our answers should change over time. And
Yeah.
we have a kind of question here for your session.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you differentiate between test plan and test strategy? And I'm expecting a very different answer from you, Brijesh.
Okay. So I do not know what percentage of the audience has actually gone through the various talks of James Bach and Michael Bolton that are available on the internet. There are tons and tons of them. Even if you've gone through those, or if you have gone through Pradeep's talks, or so many of us, if you've gone through those, and then the answers are available right there. So test strategy, like I said, is a set of ideas that drives your test design. Whereas a test plan is a set of ideas that will drive your testing. Okay, so they are different, because your test design will give you the test that you want to run, whereas a test plan will encompass those tests. So they are different. Again, don't get confused. Don't look for templates or documents. If you are doing that, seriously, some unlearning has to be done here. I know we've spoken about AI and machine learning and unlearning and stuff. So as testers also, at times we need to unlearn and relearn stuff. So that is my answer. I hope that is a satisfactory one.
I guess so. Another interesting question I would ask, I would say I would combine a couple of questions and ask you this. So do you think the test strategy should be a living document or a generic one and the static one? What is your take on?
Well, so like I said, you know what? This is a very interesting question. Now, normally when people get excited about testing and they prepare these huge long documents, like I said, nobody else other than the author bothers to read them. and they are in some repository, in some folder, which you refer to only when you go to the next project because you're looking for a template. Okay, so having a general document, doesn't make a difference. What you need to have is something that is live. Your strategy should be living. Okay, because from time to time you will need to revisit and change the strategy if required, because the needs of the project are never constant. Okay, and as per my suggestion, it's a very good idea to just have a mind map. Your strategy can be a mind map which people can put on the softboards at their desks. If you are at home, you could put it on your laptop screen, and go back to it from time to time and say, okay, am I still following this strategy? Is there something that I need to change because the product has changed, because the components have changed, because the people's thinking has changed? There has been a change at the customer end, and the new customer or the new person who is at the helm of affairs thinks that the UI should have teal color instead of green color. I'll give you an example of that, Lalit, since we are thinking about it. So there was this app being built for senior citizens to help them reach out to other people in case of emergency. And surprisingly, the color on the home page was blue, dark blue or something like that. And then in one of our retrospective meetings, the question was raised that tester said, well, everything is good, we are testing if it is blue or not, but I just have a suggestion. Since we are making this app for senior citizens, why not the color is green? Because green is more suitable for the eyes. It is more soothing to the eyes. And that was taken ahead and said by the PO. Said, okay, this is a good suggestion. Let me just discuss with the customer and see how it feels. And the answer was the customer was delighted. Said, oh, this is a great idea, and you make absolute sense. So again, it came from a question, right? Why is it blue? Why not green? So that is what I'm talking about, where you need to constantly be thinking, right? Because one of the things the most important thing about testing is thinking, critical thinking. You cannot ignore that fact, right? So I hope I answered your question.
I absolutely, and I agree with you fully. My personal approach toward strategizing testing is solely based on heuristic test strategy model. I have been using it for a decade now, and I personally prefer my strategies to be as project specific, as product specific, as context specific as possible, and I make sure that it's a living strategy. So I'm very glad that our views are pretty much.
I have also been using this the heuristic test strategy model for over a decade now. Secretly following James, if I may say that. I have not been fortunate enough to attend a live session of his, except for the one yesterday. But I someday in the post-corona world, I would like to sit in one of his sessions and be able to ask some questions and get some answers from him and interact with him. But then, for young and budding testers, this is the message that I want to have: is that keep yourself curious. I mean, ask questions. You have a great guideline in terms of the heuristic test strategy model. Make use of it. Don't simply go for showing something tangible because the management asks you to do so. Well, you tell the management that okay, we are going to give you a strategy, and we are going to involve you in developing the strategy. And once you give them that message, then they know that okay, this guy is doing something really constructive. Make them feel involved. Everybody in the team should be included, because although people say, oh, testing is the responsibility of the tester, but at the end of the day, when the product matters, everybody is responsible for it. Quality is everybody's responsibility, right? We keep saying, but how do we bring it to practice? How do we bring it to life? This is exactly how.
Absolutely. Brijesh, thank you so much for your interesting insights. I enjoyed talking to you, and I would let people communicate with you more in the Slack channel for your session.
Awesome.
Thank you for your time, your session, and let's meet sometime around.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lalit. It was great interacting with you. Hope to catch up with you personally, one-on-one, and maybe talk about testing and more. And thanks everyone for joining in the session. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye. Thanks.
Bye bye.